Today's videos are deep dive into the Book of Enoch and how it connects to the Bible. We'll be examining the verses in Scripture that quote directly from the Book of Enoch, how this ancient text fills in certain biblical gaps, and why early Christians considered it important. This study uses the English Standard Version translation unless otherwise stated. The Book of Enoch, also known as Enoch, is an ancient Jewish religious work attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. According to Genesis chapter 5, verse 24, Enoch walked with God and he was not, for God took him. This mysterious departure gave rise to legends and apocalyptic writings that expanded on Enoch's life and his visions. The Book of Enoch is not one unified work, but rather a collection of writings compiled over time. Scholars generally divide it into these sections. The Book of the Watchers tells the story of the fallen angels, called Watchers, who descended to earth and corrupted humanity. The Book of Parables contains messianic and eschatological prophecies. The Astronomical Book details a complex understanding of the cosmos. The Book of Dreams shares apocalyptic visions. The Epistle of Enoch includes teachings, exhortations, blessings, and woes. The most significant biblical connection to the Book of Enoch appears in the New Testament. Jude. Chapter 1, verses 14 and 15 reads, "It was also about these that Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied, saying, Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones, to execute judgment on all and to convict all the ungodly of all their deeds of ungodliness that they have committed in such an ungodly way, and of all the harsh things that ungodly sinners have spoken against him." This is a direct quote from Enoch chapter 1, verse 9. The passage in Enoch reads, "And behold, he cometh with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all, and to destroy all the ungodly." This close match is one of the strongest pieces of evidence that early Christians, including the writer of Jude, were familiar with and respected this book. But Jude isn't the only book in the New Testament that echoes Enoch. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4 reads, "For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment." This mirrors the story told in Enoch chapter 6 through 10. In those chapters, the Watchers, angels who descended to earth and took human wives, are bound and cast into a deep abyss as punishment for corrupting humanity and teaching forbidden knowledge. Enoch describes them being bound under the earth until the final judgment, which matches Peter's reference to angels in chains awaiting judgment. The background for this angelic rebellion actually comes from Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 4, which says, "When man began to multiply on the face of the land and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of man, and they bore children to them." The Book of Enoch expands this short and mysterious passage into a detailed story about the Watchers, their descent to Mount Hermon, and their corruption of the world through violence, sorcery, and forbidden arts. According to Enoch, these angels taught humanity warfare, enchantments, astrology, and other hidden knowledge that led to mankind's moral decay. Their children, the giants, also referred to as Nephilim, wreaked havoc on earth, and God eventually brought the flood as judgment. This detailed elaboration on Genesis 6 helps explain how early Jewish and Christian thinkers understood the origins of evil in the world. The story provides a cosmic backdrop to human sin, emphasizing that rebellion against God began not only with humans, but also with divine beings. Let's consider one more connection. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 10 reads, "That is why a wife ought to have a symbol of authority on her head, because of the angels." While Paul's meaning here is debated, some scholars argue that this may be a subtle reference to the Enochian story, where angels lusted after human women. In Enoch, the sin of the Watchers involved taking human wives, and this may be why Paul invokes the presence of angels in discussions about modesty and order. So, why was the Book of Enoch so widely known and accepted during the early Christian period? The early church fathers were aware of the book and often quoted or referenced it. For example, Tertullian, an early Christian theologian writing in the 2nd century, accepted the Book of Enoch as scripture. He acknowledged that some rejected it, but argued that this was due to its content being too challenging or mysterious. The Book of Enoch was also found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, specifically in the Qumran caves. This discovery is crucial because it demonstrates that the book was widely read and considered authoritative by a portion of the Jewish community before the time of Jesus. In fact, the Qumran community, which many scholars believe were Essenes, revered Enoch and other apocalyptic writings. They saw themselves as the righteous remnant awaiting God's judgment and the coming of a messianic figure. The Book of Enoch, with its themes of divine judgment, heavenly visions, and a coming righteous one, would have deeply resonated with them. While the Book of Enoch was excluded from the Hebrew Bible, it left a significant imprint on Christian theology, especially concerning angels, demons, judgment, and the end of days. Its imagery of heaven, the underworld, and cosmic warfare influenced the Book of Revelation and other apocalyptic literature. Enoch's vision of the Son of Man, a figure of judgment and glory, also echoes the words of Jesus in the Gospels. In Enoch chapter 46, the text describes, "There I saw one who had a head of days, and his head was white like wool. And with him was another being whose countenance had the appearance of a man, and his face was full of graciousness. And this is the Son of Man who has righteousness." Compare this with Revelation chapter 1, verse 13 to 15, where Jesus is described. "And in the midst of the lampstands, one like a son of man, clothed with a long robe. The hairs of his head were white, like white wool." Even Jesus' title, Son of Man, is enriched when we consider the Enochic tradition. While that title is rooted in the Book of Daniel, the Book of Enoch expanded on its meaning and gave the Son of Man attributes of judgment, pre-existence, and divine authority, traits that align with Christian views of Jesus Christ. In summary, the Book of Enoch wasn't just a fringe document. It was influential. It was quoted directly in the New Testament. Its ideas were part of the theological framework of early Jewish and Christian communities. And while it is not in most Bibles today, its fingerprints are unmistakably found throughout the Scriptures. If you enjoyed learning about the Book of Enoch and how it connects to the Bible, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment about what story or topic you want to see next.